Hey guys, welcome to the show. Today I want to talk about the Sri Lanka situation and tie it back with some common sense observation. So, Sri Lanka is going through a lot lately. Food shortages, energy crisis, people are out on the streets protesting for the regime change. The protests so far have forced all the cabinet ministers to resign. On top of that, their citizens are trying to flee the country in the midst of all this madness. In short, there is a human crisis in play. So did this crisis start overnight? That's the fundamental question, right? And the answer is no. It did not. This entire ordeal has been a culmination of several strategic and policy failures. So let's focus on some of the key issues over the past few years. Sri Lanka owes more than $45 billion to the world, and 1/8 of that they owe to the Chinese. Their debt to GDP ratio has been rising, and in 2021, it rose over 106%. Like any regular person, when you take a loan, you have to make repayments. Sri Lanka is at a place where they might not be able to make repayments on their loans. And not making payments can result in some very bad things. And this is not some unfathomable theory. This happened already once. Between 2007 and 2012, Sri Lanka borrowed over $1 billion from China to build a port. And when they were unable to make the payments, well, the Chinese state-owned company took over the port. So imagine what would happen when they are not able to make payments on much bigger debt. Which leads us to the second issue, Forex Reserve. Exports and tourism contributed to the growth of their Forex Reserve pool. With COVID, both sectors were hit hard, and their Forex reserves began to deplete. As you can imagine, with low reserves, they will not be able to import stuff. And therefore, you are seeing shortages at the moment. This also ties back to the first issue. If you are low on the forex reserves, how will you make the repayments? Another issue was with the way the government implemented its organic farming initiative. On the surface, this is a great thing to do for the country. You're trying to produce healthier food to make your citizens healthy. Nothing wrong with that. But this was implemented hastily and with little preparation, which led to lower crop yields, thereby exacerbating the situation. And then there's corruption. I won't talk about this topic much, but understand that this is a very serious and a heartbreaking issue. Look, at the end of the day, I know our Sri Lankan friends will make it through these hardships. But the question is, did they see this coming? Were there signs that things were going to go bad? Were going to be this bad? I think so. I think there were many cues that the average citizen could have picked up on and been prepared, even a little bit, for these kind of situations. Cues like food crisis in 1974, where 13 million people were starving, and then in 2021, and now. Cues like Sri Lanka drowning in debt. Cues like the depleting forex reserves. Cues like reducing farming output. And I didn't even talk about the inflation that the normal people are facing in their day-to-day lives. So yeah, there were cues, and people could have prepared themselves. With all that said, let's tie this back to our situation in the US. And are there cues for us? Again, I think we do. Inflation making record high month over month. The housing market is making all kinds of high. The equity market also at the record numbers. The Federal Reserve, the savior of all the markets, has now started to increase the interest rate. They have recently stated that they are going to shrink their balance sheet, aka quantitative tightening. The inverted yield curve between the 2-year and the 10-year treasury bonds is telling us that something terrible is about to happen. We can go on and on about many of these indicators, but the bottom line is that yes, there are many cues for us. The question is, what are we going to do about it? The first and foremost thing that I want you to do is to start keeping money on the side and use it to buy some extra non-perishable food items like grains, canned food, and invest in sound money. I'm a big proponent of sound money like Bitcoin, cryptos, and precious metals. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is real life advice more than anything else. So yeah, if possible, get some precious metals, buy some bitcoins, and lastly, always keep some cash for emergencies. Look, while I'd love for you to like this content and subscribe to the channel, I'd say if you have only a few minutes to spare, don't do any of that stuff. Instead, take action. Buy some food. Go talk to your family and friends and educate them. The worst outcome of buying extra food is that you get to make fewer visits to the grocery store. I don't think it's such a bad thing, is it? With that, you guys stay safe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.